Shakur Stevenson takes on Artem Harutyunyan this weekend in his hometown of Newark, New Jersey. Looking to put on a much better performance than what he showed in his last fight against Edwin De Los Santos for the WBC title last year. That need for a showcase level performance in this one for Shakur is made even more imperative by the fact that this is Stevenson's last fight under contract with promoter Top Rank. And if he can deliver in a big way here on Saturday night, it would certainly go a long way into enticing big contracts from other potential promoters moving forward. Stevenson has long since said he's been frustrated with Top Rank's management of his career since making the move up to lightweight. It seemed like a good relationship early on in his career when Stevenson was, winning titles down at featherweight and super featherweight respectively. But since that move up to lightweight, he's been calling out the likes of George Kambosos, Vasily Lomachenko. He jumped in the ring against Devin Haney after that Lomachenko fight as well. He's been calling out Tank Davis, but, nothing has materialized for him whatsoever. And that frustration even boiled over into a short-lived retirement earlier this year as well. He takes on a fighter in Artem Harutyunyan this weekend who gave Frank Martin, some serious issues in their fight last year. Frank Martin really had to dig that one out late to get the win. But this is another step up again for Harutyunyan this weekend, facing a fighter as technically special as Shakur Stevenson is. So where exactly do we see the value in this one? Before I get into a best bet, I just want to mention Wager Talk's 4th of July special, which is going on right now all week long, where you can get 50% off any handicap or 7-day all-access pass of your choice until this Sunday at midnight. Works out to just $7 per day, so make sure and take advantage of that. Lock it in before it expires this weekend. Returning to the best bet, look, Shakur Stevenson came under massive criticism in his last fight, as we said. He put on a real stinker, in fairness, against De Los Santos, a fighter who was much better than advertised, however. But look, nonetheless, fans were less than impressed. They started leaving the arena well before the end of the fight. There was boos when the decision was announced as well. So Shakur definitely seems to, he seems to have taken that criticism on board somewhat ahead of this fight. And like I said, this is a huge fight for him in terms of commercial appeal moving forward as well. Heading into those potential negotiations with those promoters after this fight. So we've seen against Soichiro Yoshino in his fight prior to De Los Santos that, when Stevenson is completely switched on and at 100%, he really is a special talent. He was absolutely teeing off on Yoshino in that fight. Yoshino, an incredibly tough fighter in his own right, but the referee had no choice but to step in and save Yoshino in that one. And I see a similar thing happening here in this one on Saturday. Harutyunyan won a lot of supporters in his gutsy display against Frank Martin last time out, but it was clear Frank Martin just wasn't at the races early in that fight. He looked disinterested, frankly, across the first half of the fight. Clearly a come down after his career best win against Michel Rivera just 6 months prior. And by the time Frank Martin finally got his act together in that fight and switched it on, it was all one-way traffic. Harutyunyan's face started getting busted up. His eye was closed. He was forced to take a knee in the last round as well. So, while I like Frank Martin, I think he's a really solid fighter. I said as much in my pre-fight breakdown before the Gervonta Davis fight. Shakur Stevenson's on a completely different level from a technical standpoint. And if Frank Martin is in there busting up your face and forcing you to take a knee, what's Shakur going to do to you? Harutyunyan is just way too easy to hit in there, in my opinion. So for me, I see this going very similarly to the Yoshino fight. I believe Stevenson will be far too much for Harutyunyan this weekend. Stevenson has by far, and it's not even close either, the highest plus-minus connect percentage in the entire sport. Bam Rodriguez, who we saw last weekend put in a Hall of Fame level performance, sits in second place, and he's still a good bit back from Shakur Stevenson's numbers. So, take away the negative press of Shakur Stevenson's last performance against De Los Santos, and you're left with one of the most elite fighters in the entire sport. Number 3 on power connect percentage, number 1 on opponent connect percentage, number 1 on opponent power punch connect percentage, and so on. So I honestly think this is a fairly easy fight for Shakur. I believe he's going to start teeing off on Harutyunyan from as early as the 3rd or 4th round. I'm just not sold on Harutyunyan's defense whatsoever. Martin was outlanding him by huge margins at the end of their fight. 45-10 in rounds 10 and 12 alone. So I think the referee, similar to the Yoshino fight for Shakur Stevenson, even though the one-punch knockout power isn't there for Stevenson, you know, that accumulation of punishment, the referee's probably going to have no choice but to call a halt to this one somewhere in the middle rounds as Stevenson starts teeing off on Harutyunyan, and you know, he starts taking undue punishment in the ring. So Shakur Stevenson to win inside rounds 5 to 8 is going off a plus 320 right now. I like that price. I'm expecting, you know, a fairly clinical display from the master boxer in this one, and to get, you know, his man out of there somewhere during the middle rounds as well. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Can Shakur Stevenson get back to the pound for pound level again, or will Harutyunyan prove a tougher than expected opponent here, at least in my eyes? Similar to what he showed against Frank Martin. Let me know down below. And as always, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. It's always appreciated. And until next time, Slán Abhaile, and best of luck on all your bets.